Hello ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies and in-betweeners. My name's Dan and welcome back to another PAP Reports. Today's April the 2nd, 2020. Today we're starting in Northern Ireland, where Police Service of Northern Ireland Deputy Chief Constable Mark Hamilton has publicly apologised for organisational shortcomings after the Criminal Justice Inspection of Northern Ireland reviewed the PSNI's methods to release material on historic cases to the Police Ombudsman. He said, as observed by the Criminal Justice Inspection of Northern Ireland report, from the outset PSNI recognised the impact of the failure to disclose information to the Ombudsman on both the families and the wider public's confidence in policing. This failure was not due to the actions of any individual, but was an organisational and systems failure, and I unreservedly apologise again to the families for this. As soon as the issue came to police attention, we commissioned urgent work to address it, and over the course of last year we have worked closely with OPONI and fully cooperated with the Criminal Justice Inspectorate to do so. Now, I get that companies and organisations make mistakes, but the PSNI, which was reformed from the Royal Ulster Constabulary, has been in operation since the 1st of June 1922. You would think that after almost 100 years of service, they would have gotten the release of information to those who hold them to account pinned down. There is no excuse for failure to disclose information to the overseers, except for trying to hide wrongdoings. As part of this work, PSNI has introduced a standardised search guide to deliver a more comprehensive and consistent approach, which provides a high level of assurance for the Ombudsman. Mr. Hamilton added, "We believe this work has significantly reduced the risk of such an error occurring again." The Inspectorate are, however, right when they say that the risk of a further error cannot be fully eradicated, and that is why, along with OPONI, we must continue to critically evaluate our systems and processes to limit the potential for any recurrence. Well, I agree with occasionally errors are made, but the odd error would not be called a failure. Regular errors would be, but then regular errors are not exactly a failure, more of a systematic, deep-rooted problem. A formal complaint made about Essex Police accusing them of oppressive conduct or harassment, excessive use of force, failures in duty and breach of the Stop and Search Act was filed after 23-year-old Harry Prosser was stopped by police and subsequently had his vehicle taken from him. In fact, the investigating officer has made a recommendation that Essex Police should send a letter of apology regarding the incorrect seizure of his vehicle and should formally advise that he has not been reported for having no insurance. The investigation report found the officers did not comply with the regulations, and as a result, the police officer in charge will have to attend a series of refresher trainings, including retraining techniques and a stop and search training session. How many times do these people need retraining? It seems that almost every incident results in "oh, it's okay, we'll just retrain them on how not to get caught next time." Oh, what? Harry's car was seized in Parkston Road, Dovercourt on January 18th due to insufficient proof of insurance, which was later found not to be true. Harry claims he suffered about £1,400 in damages and lost his job after the incident and has been without a car for more than 2 months. He said, "I'm pleased it's been proven I wasn't doing anything wrong, but at the end of it, I still suffered a loss, based on failings of the police. The incident has stopped me from getting out and about, and I suffered with mental health, so it has resulted in me not going to work and losing my job. I was incurring £20 per day storage fees, which after 7 weeks it adds up to quite a bit," he said. "I paid 2 months of insurance when I wasn't even using a car, so in total I suffered £1,400 in damages for insurance and the loss of the car." He added he started studying a BA in law with the Open University because of how the police had been treating him. Mr. Prosser said he's still awaiting a letter of apology regarding the incorrect seizure of his vehicle and a formal advice stating it has not been reported for having no insurance. And this is something that is starting to happen more and more. The police balls up and the person they have wronged are then going to learn the law in one way or another, which I personally think is great. The more people who know the basics of law, the better. And to be fair, even if you know the basics of law, it's still likely you'll know more than the police because they are briefed on the law rather than study it and understand it. I hope Harry gets his compensation for his losses. Last week, Pinaki News posted a video regarding journalists and reporters being key workers if reporting on subjects relating to the coronavirus. Obviously, removing people's rights to gather and disseminate information means that we are only given the propaganda the government share through the mainstream media. Now, I do have a problem with this, to be fair, because the report suggests that the government has classed all journalists who are reporting on a coronavirus pandemic as key workers. The list includes journalists and broadcasters who are providing public service broadcasting in the category of key public services. A Downing Street spokesperson confirms this is intended to cover all journalists who are informing and communicating with the public on the coronavirus crisis, not just broadcasters as some initially interpreted it. But see, for me, it means that other public interest and important newsworthy events are being missed. For example, Ferrari press agency reporter Amir Razavi travelled to Woodmancote after the bodies of 2 adults and 2 children were found at a house in the small village on Sunday. But he was told his journey was not necessary by Sussex Police at the scene, days after they were granted new powers to enforce social distancing in a bid to stop the spread of coronavirus. However, a spokesman has since said, "We recognise that journalists are key workers providing an important and valuable service in communicating news about COVID-19. Officers and staff have been made aware of this in relation to the presence of the media, but we would expect journalists to rigorously observe government guidelines around social distancing, carry recognised ID, and especially to consider the elderly and vulnerable if they're making inquiries locally." Something that Pinaki News brought up in his video, which I'll link to in the description, is that the issuing body for press credentials is nothing more than a voluntary scheme and does not have a central official issuing organisation. And the problem that I have is, if media are not allowed to report on anything other than COVID-19, then how do the stories get out to the public? How easy is it going to be for things to be covered up? Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden said public service news across TV, radio and print has never been more important than it is right now. I can confirm that broadcasters, journalists and the necessary ancillary staff are included as key workers. The National Union of Journalists had also argued that all journalists in core news gathering roles should be included. Looking ahead, the union said that if the UK enforces a full or partial lockdown to try and stem the spread of coronavirus further, as in Italy, Spain and France, journalists should be granted freedom of movement so they can continue to carry out public interest reporting. Now, I obviously agree that all journalists should be included, but this whole thing about a press card is ridiculous, as there are more alternative media outlets than mainstream media. Some good news, however. The News Media Association warns that the coronavirus crisis poses a grave threat to publishers because of sharp declines in advertising, adding that some would not survive beyond the next few months without swift intervention. It said there is an urgent need for immediate financial and operational support for all UK news publishers, national, regional and local. Maintaining the flow of essential news while avoiding extensive job losses with title closures would be beneficial to the public purse and society in the long term. Maybe the mainstream media publishers will falter, and I don't think too many people would be heartbroken if some of the news titles out there were closed. Something now to actually cheer you up. South Wales Police reported being out in Cardiff abusing their new power. I've been checking the validity of people's movements on Monday when they stopped a man to politely ask where he was going and if his journey was essential. The man caught, quote, ignoring, unquote, the lockdown, told police his journey was essential because he needed to buy some weed. In a post shared on Twitter, South Wales Police said the man was reported for making a non-essential journey and possession of cannabis. South Wales Police said the vast majority of people have been listening to the government's advice to stay at home to stop the spread of coronavirus. And I say the vast majority of police are not listening to the government's legislation and are simply enforcing what they think rather than what they should know. Merseyside Police now, and Merseyside Police should be held heroes after tackling a serious offender last week and bringing him to justice. And we're always looking out for times when police have gone above and beyond in their duties so that we can show a balanced view of British policing. I think this example shows that beautifully. 45-year-old Ian Grave from St Helens in Merseyside was tackled to the ground by several police constables who managed to subdue him before bundling him in the back of their van and kept him detained at a police station for 4 hours after being caught flouting the coronavirus lockdown by keeping his vape store open. Yeah, absolutely disgusting. And right up there with the knife crimes and abuse crimes. Aren't you all glad the police are all over these hardened, difficult to catch offenders? Ian Grave kept his business open, claiming he provided a key service, selling products which help people give up smoking. The government and the new legislation states that only stores selling essential goods such as supermarkets, pharmacies, post offices and hardware stores have been told they can remain open. Ian said, "I thought we were doing everything right. I only had one member of staff in and we were letting in one customer at a time and then wiping down after every customer. I think we're providing a vital service selling nicotine products. Off licences are still allowed to stay open, so why not us? You can also go to a DIY store. Are nails essential?" But they turned up and said we had to shut. I asked under what law did I have to close, and they didn't know. Of course they didn't know. They're not told. All they're told is that certain essential shops are allowed to remain open, which leaves it up to the police constable's individual interpretation of what that means. Hence why there's been so many reports of police abusing powers. Ian accused the police of being too aggressive as they pushed him to the ground and arrested him. He added it was totally over the top. They twisted my arm up my back. I was in agony. When I got to the station, they didn't know what to charge me with. On the board where they write things like mugging or burglary, they wrote something like shopkeeper. I was in a cell for a couple of hours before they let me leave. To be fair, the officers in the station were great, and it was just the ones who came to the shop. The UK vaping industry has urged the government to exempt its outlets, claiming it would be a counterproductive move that could place a further strain on the NHS.
Not resisting! Stop shouting! Relax yourself. Don't film this!
I am filming it. It's the most important.
Let me arm off my head. I've not resisted.
He's epileptic.
I have not resisted.
Get off his head.
I haven't resisted. I'm not resisting.
Put your arm around your back.
Ah! Oh! You are a I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
He's epileptic. You.
Ah! You don't need to do that. I'm not resisting. Ah!
Oh, I
I've
need
got a
to
plate in my arm. You. You. Did you? Ow!
Yeah.
You're a tough guy, you are, yeah. Ah! I've not broken any laws.
I recently said in a PAP report that the National Police Chief Council and the College of Policing are looking to rush through guidance for police due to the new legislation in a bid to help stop the abuse, or misunderstanding as they call it, of the new powers. This week lots of mainstream media have created articles about this, but they've not been very thorough in their report about the guidance. Luckily you're a subscriber to Police Abusing Powers, and luckily I have some great subscribers who regularly send me things in order to spread the news. Well, I have that guidance document that was printed on the 31st of March by the National Police Chief Council and the College of Policing and sent out to police forces across the country, explaining what the police should know and what they should do. I will be making another video solely on that document shortly for you to take a look at. It may be a lengthy video as I want to make sure everybody knows what's said. So I will be reading it all for those who have poor eyesight, whilst also providing a download link. But to give you an idea of one of the things in this guidance, it gives the police permission to use force on children. It says reasonable force, but I think we all know what that means. It's a video you should want to see, as this is what the police enforcing the legislation are being taught. I'm also putting together a video to highlight some of the abuses of the new legislation that have been committed and reported in the news recently. I want to try and keep every video I do to a reasonable length, so rather than add those stories to this video, I'm going to create another separate video showing those overreactions by police forces and also giving some advice on what you should do if you are the recipient of a fine under the new legislation. Let me say a big thank you to Patreon supporters Motty Lad, Holly, AD Dave, Ian W, Copwatch UK, Dean J, Cole and President Trump. Your support is helping me to continue to provide this daily content. Thank you. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.
Good night, all.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.